Hello, Brian. Are we any richer today than we were yesterday?
Well, for one, have not looked at the stock on this fine Monday, except I have, and I posted about it twice. We've got some funny numbers. We had 419.69, we had 420 and 7 cents. Yeah. Uh, the world's falling apart, Randy. Tesla stock, it's over.
It is. It is.
Because, the big people in charge don't believe in it anymore. Oh, wait, turns
Mm,
out they do.
some major player, put $1 billion in last week, which turns out to be the largest purchase ever by an insider.
Well, I was going to buy $1 billion, but I checked my bank account and I didn't have it.
It
So,
just wasn't handy. You might have had this
no,
a couple of properties or something.
I don't think that
Boardwalk,
would have done the trick.
Boardwalk, Park Place.
My organs do not command that kind of premium.
So my thought, one of the thoughts, many thoughts that I had this morning, but they were helped by other people's thoughts who I read,
Mm.
was who is the greatest, the probably the number one person in the world in terms of allocation of capital?
Oh, well, in terms of allocation, how do you mean?
In other
Who's
words,
best at allocating it?
yes, who is the best
Who
at
would I
allocating capital?
trust with my 100 or $100 million?
Right.
There is that fella from Austin who kind of turns everything to gold when he touches it.
So
Um,
he's had this reputation on the what's called the ROIC, the return on invested capital, as being Tesla alone under Elon's leadership has been pointed to as maybe second to Apple.
mm,
Some people say it'll take a little longer to figure that out because of the massive amounts of capital that's been allocated, but he's in the ballpark of being Tesla alone is in the ballpark of being the company that's best at allocating capital.
well, let me share with you my thoughts on investment in a person
Uh-huh.
who's got some ideas, not the ideas themselves, but the person. You have to look at the ideas. So, Randy, I need some money from you. It's a lot. I need tens, maybe hundreds of millions, and I want to start a car company 20 years ago. It's a no for me, dog. That is not a winning proposition. Okay, fine, not that. Why don't rockets? Rockets. Pass, pass. You need billions, not tens or hundreds of millions. You need billions of dollars and the full backing of an entire sovereign nation. So fine, we'll go into digging tunnels. What are you going to somehow do it cheaper? Yes. Starlink. It's so Randy, Starlink is my favorite example. All we need to do for this to work, and it's going to work, I promise you.
Right.
I do need billions.
Yeah.
All we need is to launch a number of satellites that has never been launched before in the sum of human history at a price that's never been seen before to go all over the world all the time at low orbit. And by the way, because the space is limited, we have to go in a lower orbit than generally acceptable, which means they're going to burn up every 5 to 7 years and we're going to have to replace them. And you would, I assume, rightly tell me that's crazy if any part of this doesn't work. And so he's been able to, you're going to be the last company to start an LLM and you think you're going to win? Well, I mean, we've monetized it in ways no one else has. We have a model that appears to work better than any of the other public models, certainly in some categories, not in all categories, but it is one of, if not the leading, despite being the newest, which means their rate of progress is absolutely crazy. So, if you're asking me, if Elon said, I have a startup, it's coming tomorrow, and it's called LMNOP, and I'd say, what does it do? And he'd say, I'm not going to tell you. Are you in? I'd say, how much do you need?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
and I know it sounds crazy, but if everything you touch turns to gold, well, what are we doing?
Yeah, exactly. So if your ROIC is one of the highest in the world, and pretty much you can pick up the phone and call billionaires all over the planet and say just what you just said, and they go, as Larry Ellison did just recently with regard to XAI, he said, is a billion enough? You know, Well, in this particular case, of course, Elon invested $1 billion in his own company and the company that he started, Tesla, the one that you and I are all in whatever degrees you want to call that. And my thought this morning, my second thought was, besides his ability to get a great return on capital, is, well, if he is the expert at getting return on capital and he just invested his own capital in Tesla, and he also knows more about Tesla than everybody combined, because he knows more about his own intentionalities with regard to Tesla, where things stand engineering wise, where things stand regulations wise with different countries and different states. He knows where things stand with regard to the products that he's rolling out. If he knows more than everybody and anybody about those things, and he just put $1 billion in, hmm.
So does that mean it's going to the moon? Well, maybe. But what it definitely means is there is no better place to put your money over the medium term, according to Elon. And Elon knows all the CEOs. He knows all the businesses. He knows everyone in the space. He didn't put his money in any of those places. He put his money where, where he knows what's going on. So when you say Tesla own Tesla, it's true. And I don't know if viewers know this, but between me and Randy Kirk and Elon Musk, we own 13% of Tesla. It's true. The other thing is, you said he founded the company, and I do want to address that because there are people who still say that he didn't, even though it's been litigated. It's settled. It's not up for debate. When Elon joined Tesla, they didn't have an office. They didn't have a prototype. What they had was an idea. They weren't in production. They didn't have any contracts. They didn't have a manufacturing facility. They had a name and an idea. And Elon came in and said, I'm bringing the money, but just the money. I don't want to run this thing. And then it got to the point where he said to Martin, I think, so what is the actual cost to build this? And he said, I don't know. That's a really good question. And Elon said, you have to know. You have to know. I'm out there telling people things based on your information. And based on that, he was able to right the ship, remove that cancer, and and get the investors back on board. And then in the future, when Elon was being referred to as a founder, it was those guys who filed the lawsuit to say, no, you can't say that. And not only did they lose, but they were told that not only can Elon be called a founder, but it's not clear that you guys even can. I guess you can if you want, but you didn't do anything. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think how you define a founder, obviously the court's decided, but there's only one person at Tesla right now who operates in founder mode at all times. Even when he's off in Washington, D.C., helping run the government, he's still the guy who acts like a founder when it comes to Tesla. And as Peter Diamandis and others say, there's no better company to invest in than when you're investing in somebody who is still in founder mode.
Mm-hmm. I don't know enough of the definitions to agree or disagree, but when I look at Tom Jew, Lars Moravy, these guys are still leaning forward like the company's survival depends on it. And that is, to me, very exciting. I've seen people, I did want to address this real quick, saying now that there is a concrete intention to determine a succession plan, who do you guys want to see? And I've seen a lot of names floated that would be a bad choice. Franz von Holzhausen, fantastic designer, no executive experience, don't put him in charge. Lars Moravy, fantastic product engineer. I've not seen anything that would suggest he has executive skills. Tom Jew, I think, would be a very likely, very good successor because he operates as the CEO of the Eastern Hemisphere. So I think that's not an unreasonable guess. But guys have to remember that A CEO isn't just the person we like, it's the person who knows how to build, organize, and run. I've also seen JB's name floated. I like it. JB, I think, has executive chops. I mean, we know he
We
does.
know he does, yes.
He also has vision. I think JB would be a very strong candidate. The only question is, could you afford him? And I don't know if the answer to that is yes, because Redwood Materials and Redwood Energy are doing some pretty fantastic stuff. And after my coverage of them, people said, I love it. When are they going to IPO? And the answer is they don't need to. Therefore, they're not going to because they don't need the money. And they know that as soon as they IPO, that locks in the current value of the company. And they believe the current value of the company is much too low.
Right,
So,
right.
because they can see what they're working on.
So if Elon Musk is in founder mode, and if Elon Musk is an insider by definition, he is the biggest insider. He just put his own money into that company based on insider information. Then I want to be as close as I can be to having as much information as Elon has. And this is always the big question for a company like this is as transparent as Tesla is, and I think they're more transparent than most companies, as transparent as Elon is about Tesla, and I think Elon is more transparent than almost any CEO that I've ever followed. There's still a bunch of questions out there, Brian, that I would love to have answers to. And we've got the earnings call coming up at the end of, or so about the third week of October, probably around the 21st, 22nd. And there's always an opportunity for the retail folk to get some questions out there. And so a month ahead of time, I usually start putting out my ideas for these questions. So
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to shoot a couple of them at you and see what you think of the questions or what you think if you think you know the answers.
I'm gonna just check. Yeah, let me put on my Elon hat.
There you go. Well, yeah,
Here.
yeah, that'd be good. Yeah,
It says Cybertruck, but it'll have to do for
we'll
today.
have to do. All right. Okay.
I'm
All
not wearing
right.
that. That looks terrible.
You care about how you look, I see. Mhm.
It's not helping. It's worse. Go
I
ahead.
see. Well,
I'm ready.
okay. So, Elon, you said that you have a plan to solve the electricity supply issue. I mean, this is just a few weeks ago. He said they were talking about the electricity supply problem, and he said he looked at the camera and said, "I have a plan." Or maybe that was an X. I can't remember. So, will current energy storage production from everybody else, not you, be enough to make a dent in the electric energy supply shortages, or is there more to your plan? Do you have some plan, like a solar giga plant, which you kind of talked about, or some other things, many, many more mega factories? Or what do you got in mind? We need to hear more about your plan.
The idea of building a solar plant is daunting. The margins are historically quite low. The tariffs have upended that a bit. You could sell them for 60 to 80% more than imports and still be cheaper than the imports due to tariffs. But getting these plants up and running costs hundreds of millions of dollars, requires extremely specialized equipment and specialized employees. I don't know that we have those employees in the US, and getting employees into the country is problematic today, to say the least. So I don't see a factory being built in the next 2 to 3 years. I don't even see it being planned. We have an administration that is openly hostile to wind and solar, and the genius at the energy department, Secretary of Energy, is a fracking CEO. He's a fracking king. So he has a vested interest in pretending solar won't work. So let's step back from that idea. Unfortunately, I hope that's still something that could happen. A few $100 million out of the $33 billion pile is not consequential. It's 1% of reserves. It's a good deal, but only if it works. So what you've got is, so what can Tesla do short of that? Well, the megapacks are one solution. Power walls are another solution. The third part of that is, could we make vehicle to load possible? And I had a chance to discuss this with some very smart people over the weekend. And our conclusion was the only obstacle is, well, I mean, there's a technical obstacle. They need to put a $50 chip in all the cars. There is a product on the market that looks like it might be able to circumvent that to do low-level backfeeding, which is fine, which would still be immensely helpful. The big obstacle is we need regulations that say allow virtual power plants everywhere.
Mm.
If your grid can in any way use it, you must. I don't see that kind of legislation coming to pass. I don't know if you can make a rule at the federal level. I'm not aware. I'm not saying you can or can't. I'm saying I don't know. At the state levels, you definitely can, which leaves the patchwork quilt in place, unfortunately. But if you could make it so that every vehicle in every place at all times was permitted to backfeed the grid, that means that every day when you sell 1,000 cars, even if you're only counting 10% of it, you're still talking megawatts of power coming online every day, in addition to the megawatts yesterday and the day before and the day before. That means that any amount, once you get that running, any amount of overproduction could be absorbed. So then you just need to raise the production. You can do that a bunch of different ways. Well, the energy secretary says, well, the sun doesn't shine at night and the wind isn't always blowing. That's true. But gas plants also aren't generating 24/7. They go down for maintenance. These are things that happen. But unlike cloudy days, you can predict cloudy days with reasonable accuracy a week out. You can't always predict a mechanical failure. So storage, that is the solution that is already in place, in motion. It could just be expanded.
Yeah, so distributed energy. We talked over the weekend on my channel. We talked a ton with Phil Beisel about distributed AI or distributed compute, which we also have in our cars and we'll have more of in the future. So this idea makes a ton of sense. That was worth having
Yes.
you on just for this.
Well, and thank you. Thank you. I would say that the other big concern people have levied against the grid is that the interconnects are very slow to be built. Their long distance lines are very expensive. And to that I say, right, but we're not talking about long distance. We're talking about cars in your neighborhood. We're talking about power walls in your neighborhood. We're talking about megapacks in your county. We don't need long distance transmission. We need short distance transmission, and we already have it.
Now, would another possibility, just so long as we're on this, and I know I have a list of 17, which we're not going to get to this morning. So would another possibility here be we do have a solar division for rooftop solar, which is also a distributed production potential. And maybe he has a plan where this becomes a bigger deal, where this becomes where the price comes down with using the robots to dramatically lower the cost of install, using the robots to dramatically decrease the cost of the panels themselves in the manufacturing facility. Maybe he has a plan that's related to that existing product line.
We don't know what the price problem is. They're very expensive. When they were unveiled, he said it'll cost less than a roof plus solar. And then he added the caveat, well, a premium roof
Right.
plus solar. And then if you look at it, a brand new ceramic tile roof plus solar is still probably cheaper.
Right.
So this is not a cost-effective solution. This is eye-wateringly expensive. I assume scale would solve some of that, but scale is not something they can achieve at these prices. It's a chicken and egg problem there. And yeah, and we just don't know what the bottleneck is. Is it the manufacturing? I think if you were to remove 100% of employee salaries from the production, the tiles would still be prohibitively expensive. They also don't look as nice as the ones in the original demo. The original demo ones looked very normal, very real, and these look like glass shingles. Good looking glass shingles, but not like any traditional roof I've ever seen before myself. So I have no confidence in the solar division making up any meaningful part of the equation.
Okay, but that does now give me two additional questions to
Oh
put on the
boy.
list. One would be on your idea for distributed, and one would be, is there a chance of increasing dramatically the solar division? So those are two. I've got to put A and B there under those two. All right, Elon, you've also said that the TAM on energy storage batteries is unlimited. Will the Mega Block product be made in Shanghai or Lathrop?
Hmm.
If not, are there plans to build new factories to make the mega blocks? Related, is the constraint on making more mega packs and mega blocks the batteries or something else?
Okay, so that's only 9 questions. I
I
can
know,
handle
yeah,
that.
yeah. But it's all one thing.
I know. If I didn't give you a hard time, you would think something had happened to me.
I know.
Uh, in the US, we know that Mega Block will be coming online at the end of next year. And I don't think it will be the end of next year. I think it'll be first half because I track these things and I'm good at it. Uh, my completion estimates for the factory have been, as you've noticed,
Right.
dead on.
Yes.
They've been dead on. So, and if the factory is done being built now, they're already starting to commission it. Why would it take a whole year plus? Come on. I do not think Lathrop will be converted to make them because not everyone needs that much power. There are people who need 1 or 2 or 3 megapacks, not 4 plus. And really, it's not 4, it's 5. The capacity is equivalent to 5.
Mhm.
So I think they've got a well-oiled machine in Lathrop. Would you discontinue Model 3 to only make Model Y? I don't think that's a good idea. There are people who need that size, who want that size, for whom it's the best choice. So, no, uh, but Shanghai is another matter. I would be very surprised if they don't commission a line in Shanghai to make Mega Block. And it also wouldn't surprise me to see an additional factory go up that just does that because the total addressable market is at this point quasi infinite. I had a chance to interview the CEO of Flowtech in Portland. They make flow batteries. They're putting out their first demo units later this year. And they're hoping to get to scale by 2027. Um, in the comments, people would ask, is this a competitor for Megapack? I said, well, they do exist in the same space, but no, the market is just so large that I cannot imagine a company sitting down and saying, are we going to choose this one versus this one and having to weigh it? They occupy slightly different spaces. You'll notice that all manufacturers of battery energy storage solutions, BESS, the Megapack type things, have a backlog. CATL has a backlog. BYD has a backlog. LG. And it's because the market is simply that big. It'd be wild if they could get to the point where they've only got a week of doubt as to whether or not these packs we're making today, are we going to need to cut shifts? We are a long ways out from that because every time you make more of them, the price comes down and that expands the market. Today's market, you could argue, is very finite because the price at which they're being sold is very high. But if you look at the price per kilowatt or megawatt that you're getting today, kilowatt hour,
Mhm.
that people in the comments will lose their mind if you don't specify for some reason, even though they know exactly what I meant. Um, if you look at the price, it has come down significantly.
Right.
And as it comes down, more and more applications come online for which it makes sense. If it was 5 times the cost of what it is today, you'd still need it for every AI data center. You just need it. Something has to smooth the power coming in. But as the price keeps coming down, all of a sudden, maybe supermarkets get it so they can have a better solution than a diesel generator that can keep the frozen goods from spoiling during the short power outage. That's a hope. And it'll keep growing.
All right, so now you've created a part B for this one. So I kind of asked this question. You're saying you think the mega blocks will be started up by the first half of next year. I asked over the weekend a couple of times in my comment, or over last week, a few times on my commentary about the mega blocks. Could it be that the reason why it's going to take till the end of next year is kind of almost Cybertruckish? There are like 8 new things that they're going to do. There's new cells, new packs, transformers, new buses. I mean, like everything about this thing is brand new. And so maybe he's giving us a longer projection because will all of those things come together by the first half of next year?
I think it's very safe to sandbag at this point because there are a lot of moving pieces, as it were, to the equation, not the product. That would, if any one of them falls apart, there's going to be a delay. But the LFP cells are already being commissioned in Reno. That factory is already surely outputting some usable cells today. That means that in the next 6 months, if they're not producing a decent volume, and I don't mean the full 10 gigawatt hours, but some amount that they would need, that they would have some production. This factory is scheduled to make, what is it, 50 megawatt hours of power?
Yeah.
Reno can't provide that.
Right.
We're already going to be buying cells from China. Those cells will arrive regardless of the progress in Reno. So batteries is not the bottleneck. Transformers, they're very simple devices. You
Wait
just
a
got to
minute,
build them.
let me back up. I'm not
Yes.
sure that these cells are the Reno cells. These are much larger cells, is my understanding, and they're much
Yes.
higher power.
Right.
So I don't think they're the ones being made in Reno. I think
Not
they're
the ones at Giga, Nevada, the ones next door at the LFP
the
factory,
new one. They are
the
these.
new factory.
We,
We have reason to believe they are. This is secondhand
okay.
LFP equipment from
Right.
CATL,
Right.
who had previously made them in this form factor.
Okay.
So to me, it says that that's what these are for. So, but in any case, no matter where the cells come from, most of them are going to come from China.
Right.
China's already making them. The batteries are not the bottleneck. Next bottleneck we're talking is the transformers. Transformers are not complicated devices, but you do have to build them.
Yes.
They're wanting to move to one that is eventually solid state, or at least uses significantly less liquid, but they don't have to start. Just like
By the
with
way, if they could get my dad on board, unfortunately he's passed away. He spent his entire life making making plastic encapsulated transformers. Um,
interesting.
yeah, so it is possible to make plastic encapsulated transformers, but it's really hard. So I don't. Maybe the technology has changed in the last 10 or 15 years, but I know that that's what he worked on his entire adult life practically.
That's interesting. On the transformer front, you just got to build them. People say, well, if it was that easy, why aren't companies doing it? They are. They are. Especially in China and India, there is no backlog for transformers. Those companies immediately ramped to meet the demands. When Nepal puts up a new hydro plant, they just order the transformers and they arrive on schedule. That's just how it works. So, but in the US, we've lost the knack for building things and the appetite for risk in what could be a low margin or short-lived industry.
Yes.
So that's unfortunate. And then, of course, you've got the bus bar. Oh, and what I was going to say is Tesla doesn't always wait for perfection to launch. When the Cybertruck launched, it still had some 12-volt components with a step-down transformers. When the Model Y first launched, they didn't have the single rear casting sorted out yet. So they did a double casting and just bonded it at the middle. They will move forward regardless. If it's good enough, but we can do better, don't worry, we will do better soon. And then on the bus bar, I don't know of anything that would delay that. I don't know of anything about it that makes it complicated, even if it is novel.
Okay. All right. So we will leave it at that for today. We will pick this up tomorrow. And this has been so much better than I expected that
Me too.
We might be doing this for weeks.
Hey, just in time for the earnings call.
That's right. Okay. So Brian, thanks as always for coming on board. And I'm so thankful that you now probably have enough money to eat for the next week. as a result of the Tesla stock doing so well. It's been great talking to you.